Welcome to another episode of the KnightChat, First on Air, your go-to podcast for everything FIRST robotics related and more. I'm your host, Chandra, and today's topic is STEAM in government. Now, for those who don't know, STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Now, I'm definitely not a government official that can talk on this, so here with me today as our guest is Southington, Connecticut's State Representative, Chris Poulos. Chris is the state representative for Southington at the Connecticut State General Assembly and an instructional leader for the Spanish/humanities teacher at Joel Barlow High School. Chris, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Right, so let's just get started right away. So, to start us off, let's just go straight into STEAM. What exactly is the importance of STEAM at the state government level?
Well, I think that most legislators are looking to expand the workforce in Connecticut. And manufacturing is a sector which has a lot of opportunity. So throughout the last 3 legislative sessions and this upcoming legislative session, there's been a lot of talk about how we could expand manufacturing jobs in Connecticut. And one of the strategies has been to create a pipeline for young people in our state from high school into the various different manufacturing careers that they can go directly along that pipeline through college, stay in our state, and populate our manufacturing jobs.
Yeah, so can you just expand a little bit into that? Like, how are you and other legislators like yourself actually advocating for this, expanding, like you said?
Sure. So there's a manufacturing caucus, for example, which is the legislators that really want to learn about opportunities. They meet with the chief manufacturing officer. He comes and speaks. He's the governor's appointee to try to expand manufacturing in Connecticut, create these jobs. And one of the strategies has been to support high school robotics, actually.
Yeah.
And at Tungus Community College, there have been proposals to invest a significant amount of funds so that they can build a field there, a robotics field.
Really?
And with storage for people's equipment and a place where people can go and just do robotics. And not everyone has a field.
Yeah.
And so that the idea being that if we can get students early, involved, engaged, aware of different opportunities, learn the skills, they may go to college and expand on that, study more about those careers, and then come back and work in Connecticut. And one of the ways we do that is every year there's a manufacturing fair at the Capitol.
Yeah.
And basically what happens is many manufacturers are invited to set up information booths in the actual Capitol. And then different groups of students from middle school and high school come, and there's typically a scavenger hunt of some sort where they go through and it kind of forces the students to go and be exposed to the different people that are there. They're learning about the different jobs, different kinds of companies that exist in Connecticut. And in some cases, students from Team 195 actually have gotten jobs and internships as a result of that opportunity to interact with the employers. One student in particular I know of works every summer and wants a career in manufacturing someday. And it might be her first job when she gets out of college because she's built that relationship. She's learned what they do. She's demonstrated skills and knowledge. And the company, on the other hand, has made an investment in this young person. And they want a return on that investment and to keep her on their staff. So.
Yeah, I love all these opportunities that you're giving these students. So for the time that you've been in office, how have you seen STEAM or manufacturing jobs evolve, or like any shifts and changes have you seen?
I mean, I know that there has been more and more of a focus on economic development. And in my role as a state representative, I'm always learning too. I mean, my day job, I'm a teacher. I'm a Spanish teacher. I'm kind of rooted in the humanities. But so one of the ways I learn is to pay attention at the manufacturing caucus meetings and attend the manufacturing fair and try to stay in touch with kids in this field in my town. But I've also embarked, in the middle of January, I started a tour of Southington businesses. And
I love that.
yeah, it's interesting. And there's so many things in my own hometown where I've lived my whole life that I simply didn't know. And so, for example, we visited F&F Concrete on January 14th. I drive by it every day. It's around the corner from my house. I know the Forgione family because of from different things I've done throughout my life. But when I actually had a chance to go in there and see what they do and talk to some of their workers and see the types of jobs and hear from them, they're very successful. So, and hear what makes you successful. And to talk to president of the company, Lauren Forgione, and hear her talk about, well, one of the things that makes us successful is we invest in the community. We support the YMCA. We donated all the concrete for their pavilion, for a certain pavilion or an office. We support Bread for Life and the arts, SOCA, the arts organization, and that helps them to be successful. But she, at the same time, said, our challenge is our workforce. We can't get CDL drivers to driving a cement mixer is a very unique niche in the CDL driving business. The mechanics to fix their trucks and equipment, they have, I think, over 50 trucks. And so we talked about expanding that pipeline. I talked about to say, okay, we do have an auto shop at our high school. And why can't we create a program where kids are getting all the driver's ed for CDL in the lead up to their 18th birthday? Because you have to be 18 to drive a truck. And so get that in school. So when they come out, maybe they're going to go into a manufacturing field without going to college. They're ready to drive a cement mixer, or they're ready to be a mechanic in their garage here in Southington. And we could fill that gap of workforce. And so, and the governor was there, the lieutenant governor was there, the chief engineer of the DOT was there, with whom F&F works, talking about, obviously the governor is at a very high level, talking about his desire to keep kids in the state, to expand the workforce. But the DOT chief engineer saying, this is what we need.
I love that connection to local businesses and to schools. So you mentioned Tunxus earlier and how you were establishing a field there. So how is the state helping local universities and colleges to introduce and expand curriculums to support these jobs that you said were needed in schools?
Yeah, I think that the state government is not in the business of writing curriculum, all right? And so what they want to do is lay the groundwork, create an opportunity for schools to learn as well, the adults in schools to learn as well. So I know that the middle school tech ed teachers, they probably don't call it tech ed anymore, but the middle school teachers of the tech ed department came, and they were at that manufacturing fair, and they were getting ideas about what they could incorporate into their curriculum to help students, advance in this manufacturing pipeline. And so there's a little bit of a professional development for adults. And so by having those types of activities for the general public to come into, we're not only putting ideas in kids' heads, but we're giving teachers and administrators the tools and resources to create programs of study in their districts. And I think Southington's pretty fortunate. I've been to a lot of robotics kickoff events.
Yeah.
The superintendent of schools is always there. The Board of Education leadership is always there. They're interested, and they have bought into expanding the manufacturing programs in the Southington schools. I would suspect. I was just in Vernon yesterday at a first
The FTC
tech
qualifier,
challenge,
yeah.
And at that event, there were 3 state representatives,
Really?
myself and 2 from up the Vernon area, the Tolland area. United States Congressman Joe Courtney was there, And these are lawmakers that understand that we need to be putting time and energy into these types of programs. So they go and learn. They see these competitions in action, and so then they have a little bit of a context to try to put forth legislation that's going to promote that type of programming in schools.
I love that. I like seeing that connection and other legislators like actively coming to these competitions, you know.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate when you, Mr. Medancy, our superintendent, and Colleen Clark all coming to our kickoff events. We really do appreciate when you guys come because we know that we have that support from the community.
Well, yeah, and as a legislator, more important as a teacher, most importantly as a dad, it's important for me to understand because it's a little bit above my understanding to understand what it is you're doing, your goals. Love popping in every once in a while, just at pickup time and seeing the progress on the building of the field and talking to the students and attending the competitions.
Yeah, I love seeing parents get more involved with robotics. You know, I understand it is a hard game to understand. I mean, myself, like when I first joined, it was definitely really confusing, but I love seeing them try to at least understand the game.
Yeah.
So, is there a specific age group that the investment is most pressing, or is it just all age groups, hitting like specifically high school, middle school?
I think it's got to be ongoing, right? And so, again, I'm going to go based on my experience. My son, Andrew, was involved since Oceana Elementary School with a really basic Lego setup with very basic programming.
Did he go through the FLL program?
Yes, and then they had gotten a grant from the Southington Education Association, which again it's a support group for teachers that want to try things out, and that gave him the confidence in middle school to say, I want to be part of the John F. Kennedy Middle School robotics program. He actually approached the advisor when he first got there, and so he was the only sixth grader in the fall participating in the events because he expressed interest. And I was proud of him because to go to an adult as a sixth grader and assert yourself and say, this is something I'd like to do. So he's not only getting STEM skills, but he's also developing his interpersonal skills, talking to adults, advocating for himself. And then because of that experience in middle school, he said, hey, I want to apply to the Team 195. He had a friend from the middle school that he had met that was a year ahead of him. And so there was a familiar face, and he's had a good time. He's driving the robot.
Yeah.
He's comes home and says, I use the Bridgeport machine. And I was like, what's the Bridgeport machine? Let me come down and take a picture of you using it. I want to know about it. And so, and now he talks about, he said, the STEM colleges, freshman in high school, the STEM colleges, we know about WPI because my nephew went there. His cousin went there. He starts giving names like Carnegie Mellon. He's learning about, I said, where are you learning about this? He said, well, I'm in the Project Lead the Way. We had to learn about these different colleges. And so he said, I want to go to college in that STEM field. I don't want to go to just a technical institute. I want there to be other kinds of academic programs going on side by side, but this is an area of focus. And so, I look at his trajectory. It started in elementary school, and it's helped him to start to think about decisions he's going to have to make late in high school about where he wants to go to college. Big decisions.
Yeah.
Lots of kids go through high school and don't know what they want, where they want to focus. And I would suspect if things work out and he's in that kind of a program, he'll be looking for internships. Maybe he'll meet someone at a manufacturing day. He'll be looking for things to do while he's in college so that he could come out job ready. And so again, when we talk about a pipeline, we talk about every phase of the person in the pipeline as they go through every phase. And ultimately, the goal, and this is what the politicians say, is we want to have young people stay and work in our state. And so, and ultimately, that's what we hope for the goal.
Yeah, I did not know Andrew was doing all of that, but that's really great for a freshman. I don't even think I was thinking about that stuff in freshman year. So let's just backtrack a little bit. So we know that Andrew's on the team, but you've definitely been involved with the team way before that. So I just wanted to ask, how did you get involved with Team 195 Robotics?
Well, I remember when I first heard about robotics, my nephew, who I mentioned, who went to WPI, went to Tolland High School, and he was very, very involved in the robotics team. And I started asking him questions about it. And then my family members in town were involved in robotics. And so there became family conversations about, the program. And we watched them go through. There's an advantage to having the youngest kids in a big family. So you get to watch everyone figure stuff out before.
Try them out.
Yeah, and so we saw the positive benefits that the programs in these different places yielded. And at my high school too, we have a robotics program, and I remember they won some competition and had to travel to Indiana, like on the spot, and they went out there. A bunch of parents drove, and so we saw how excited they were. And so simultaneously, that's my personal experiences. I was involved on the town council for 4 years, and then most recently in the state legislature. These topics come up. These topics come up when towns and legislatures are making decisions about what we want to focus on. And on the state level, you have people come and testify at public hearings, and then continue to hear positive stories. And so that's basically where I got my my interest and commitment to supporting robotics. And I do think that we look at everything in politics as like what has a good return on investment. So the time, energy, and money we put into something has to yield a good return, or it's a bad proposal.
Yeah.
Robotics seems to have a very high return on the investments we can make with our time, our money, and advocacy.
Yeah, I think I've seen almost all of our alumni going into STEM-related fields, unless they're, on the business team. But I think robotics really does produce a lot of value for the future.
And if they don't go into the STEM field, they've had an experience that will be useful to them throughout the rest of their college and life, whether it's knowing how to use tools and fix things, having the interpersonal skills that you need to self-advocate or just to present to whatever the topic may be. So I think it's a win-win-win.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. You mentioned people testifying. So what types of STEAM investments are they actually asking for?
Basically, like I mentioned, the robotics field at Tungus Community College, and again, I won't go over that. There's all sorts of university-based career preparation programs that people are advocating to install in our public university system. To start new programs or to host internships, there's a price to that. And so people come and they advocate for funding for these programs in our public schools and our public universities, the state universities, UConn, and then also in our community colleges. And so mostly it's ways that they can advertise or spread the word about these opportunities, and then at the same time create mechanisms to implement in an educational way the opportunities, help facilitate kids to move through these opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that it's time for a cyber side chat. Now, our cyber side chats are just a little side question we're going to ask you. We didn't prep you, so you have no idea how to answer this.
Let's go.
Okay. Obviously, we know everything, like you're a state representative, but do you know what kind of candy you are? Chris, if you were a type of candy, what candy would you be and why? You could take your time with this.
Yeah, my favorite candy is the Black Twizzler.
Really?
Okay. I have a thing for like the anisette, that black licorice flavor. And I'd like to think that not many people like that candy, and so it makes me stand out, and I try to stand out in everything I do in my teaching career, in the legislature, as a dad. So I'm going to go with the black licorice.
Wow, I don't think I've ever met anyone that's liked the black licorice.
Yeah.
Honestly, so that's a real unique answer. So let's switch over to giving some advice to robotics teams, because that's the whole focus of this podcast, to give advice to other robotics teams. What is one piece of advice you would like to give to a student like me or students like our listeners about careers in STEAM? Because we talked a lot about that and what opportunities we have here in Southington, but do you have any advice for them?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing that a student new to robotics needs to figure out is which aspect of the robotics program that they feel that they add the most value to. So again, I have kind of a basic overview of understanding, but I understand there's programmers, I understand there's builders, I understand there's operators and drivers, I understand there's business side, and I understand there's the communication side, and I'm sure there's more. And so to find out where you fit in the best, and if you don't know, try them all out, okay? And then once you find your area that you think fits best with who you are, to take advantage of all the opportunities that the robotics program might be able to offer you. And they may be opportunities that support the specific component of robotics. Maybe it's an opportunity to collaborate with a nearby team to brainstorm how to build the robot a certain way, or know how that way. Or it might be something you maybe not have much experience with, like community service, and to go out and do that community service. I think it's great that I've been to a bunch of veterans stuff, and I see the Team 195 on Veterans Day in sub-zero weather watching the ceremony. I was at a veterans dinner at the Elks Club the other night, and Team 195 was there serving veterans.
We're always there.
That's right, yeah. And so, I mean, I think that to show that to be a good community member is just as important as mastering your area of interest in robotics. And the thing about the Team 195 is, and I say this all the time, the parents and the adults involved have a really great program, and with all kinds of opportunities, and to take advantage of those opportunities when you can. That would be my advice. Once you find your pathway, to take advantage of those opportunities.
Are there any things the state of Connecticut robotics teams are not doing that they could be doing regarding government level, maybe proposing pieces of legislation, stuff like that? Anything they could be doing that they're not, to expand their impact?
I mean, I certainly love seeing smart, intelligent kids come up to the Capitol and make a case for a legislative proposal. A couple examples. We had a student that came up and said, I want to have stop the bleed. The student had a bleeding disorder, okay? Oh. So if they were to get cut, their life would be in jeopardy. And so this student spoke from personal experience, gathered stakeholder supporters, came up and said, I think we should have stop the bleed education for teachers. In case someone gets a bad cut, they know how to stop the bleeding from happening in a proper way.
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool. And so I think for robotics students, definitely think out, and it's hard, and talk to a legislator or someone in government and say, what's your big goal? And then try to figure out on the micro level how your team could be supported to that would support their big goal, and then come with legislation. And then, it's hard. Like, legislation takes a while to catch on. It takes a while to pass. But a good start is having an idea that supports a bigger initiative, meeting with legislators, saying this is something we want to do, and then trusting in the legislator to say, here's what we need to do. I'd love to see more kids at the Capitol coming up and saying, this bill now has a public hearing, and I'm here to tell you why it's important and to testify in front of the legislature. In Southington, we had great success with the STEPS program. They called me down to the police station. They talked to me about a substance called kratom, which I didn't know what it was.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, so basically it was a substance sold in gas stations. They called it gas station heroin. It was highly addictive, highly not good for your health substance. They said, we want to just put the age to 21 on it. A 16-year-old could buy this stuff.
Yeah.
We took that, drafted a bill. It got a public hearing. They came to the Capitol. They were diligent. They brought experts from UConn and other places to talk to legislators, to educate the legislators about this, because I didn't know what it was myself. That bill got put into a Department of Consumer Protection bill. So that concept was put into a big bill, and it passed, not with a 21 age restriction, but it became a scheduled substance, which means you can't get that. It's a drug that if the only way you would get it is if it's prescribed. So they did that, and they were there, and they had a plan, and they knew that we don't want substance abuse in Connecticut. Big idea.
Yeah.
Here's one thing we see as a problem. Here's our proposal. We're going to bring in experts from universities that will talk to legislators and answer their questions. They actually got more than their proposal, and that was signed into effect. And as of October 1st, it's a scheduled substance. You can't buy it anymore. And so that's an example of engagement by the STEPS kids that just goes to show that it's doable. You can do it.
Yeah.
If you have a good idea. And so that's what I would say would be great to promote the robotics and manufacturing causes that you think are most important.
I think it's really cool to see that there are kids out here my age doing stuff like that, advocating for all of these problems. So I know we are kind of entering the legislative session, so do you currently see any initiatives that may be on the docket related to STEAM for this legislative session?
I'm looking forward to starting on Wednesday, and I happen to be in the moderate caucus of the legislature, so we're very moderately minded people. And one of the fellow members of that caucus of mine is the chairman of the Commerce Committee. All of the robotics legislation that we've seen has come out of Commerce because they're trying to create jobs, and that's the committee that would put forth those proposals. And tonight we have kind of a Google Doc running list of priorities, and tonight we have our first meeting. So I'm looking forward to hearing. He'll talk from the Commerce positioning what they're going to work on, and so to be determined.
To be determined, yeah. Okay, so we are kind of wrapping up here a little bit. So is there any last final piece of advice that you would like to just throw out there for any robotics teams, any students, parents, teachers, mentors, anybody that's listening, regarding STEAM in government, what they can do, what they should be doing? It could be related to STEAM in careers, just any more advice that you would like to add on.
Yeah, I think that get involved. If you're interested, if you even have the slightest interest, get involved and kind of start yourself along that pipeline. And it's okay if you exit from the pipeline if it's not your thing, but you never know if it is your thing
unless you try it.
And so just to parents, I'd say if you think there's any interest, make sure your kids go and try. From a legislative standpoint, I think now more than ever, young people need to be engaged in government and decision making. It's no secret that if you turn on the news or you look on social media, we live in probably the most divided times of my life, my 51 years. And as a teacher, as a parent, my big fear of living in divided times is that the young people will be the collateral damage of the division. And so for young people to be involved and aware and active, I think that's a way that we can ensure that we move beyond the state we're in right now to a place where people are civil, collaborative, working towards productively working towards solutions to make sure that everything is good again.
Yeah. I did lie when I just said that was my last question because another one just popped in my head right
fine,
here.
yeah.
Are there any other, because I know 195 has a lot of STEM programs that we facilitate and help out with, but are there any other STEM programs or STEAM programs that students in Connecticut can get involved with that maybe 195's not helping, but maybe the government is kind of felicitating, or have you visited?
Yeah, I could share just a quick story. Last Wednesday, as a member of the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, I was invited to tour a facility in Groton, Connecticut. And so, as you know, Groton's down on the shoreline.
Yeah.
So they said, all right, we're going to meet in Windsor Locks at 9 a.m. So I kind of just went. And we got a briefing from the Major General about what they do with their helicopters. And then we actually got in Black Hawk helicopters and flew to Groton, which was like one of the coolest things I've ever done. You know, it's loud in there. You have to wear earplugs, and you can't really have a conversation on the helicopter, but the views were great. And we got down to the helicopter repair facility in Groton. And they gave us a tour, and they actually showed us. They said, this is a Chinook helicopter. It flew like in the early 2000s, and the ramp on the back of it was damaged. It was deemed like not worthy to hold up. So we called Sikorsky, and we asked them what a ramp would cost, and they said $350,000. And so they don't manufacture parts of a ramp. They build those helicopters, and they just have the ramps, and it's a big long thing that comes down. And so at this facility, and we went into the lab, and there's a kid. I say a kid. He was probably in his 20s. And he said, well, what I did was I used this 3D printer, and I printed this piece that in plastic to see if I could that it would fit as kind of a fix. He's like, I went, I held it up to the part of the ramp, and it fit perfectly. So then I went and took the more expensive aluminum or whatever metal product they use, and they have this pretty big machine there, and I printed the same thing in metal for $5,000. And then we riveted it all together, and now we can use that ramp again. So instead of buying it for $350,000, we fixed the ramp for $5,000. And so my question to that was like, well, how do you get the word out about this? And they said, well, we have programs here. We bring kids in here, and we have instructional programs here in Groton because we want to recruit people to know how to do these jobs. And the Groton facility is one of 4 in the nation. So it services helicopters for aircraft from 14 states, and we have that right here in Connecticut. And they're not only doing interesting work that's in the manufacturing sector, but they're offering awesome jobs and like pre-job education to young people who want to go in there and do their program. So I'm sure, like, that's just the most recent. I'm sure there's people internally trying to grow their workforce. People need the workforce. It's a very specific thing that they're doing. So what they do is part of what they do is they have like a program to fill their workforce needs. And not all those kids are going to go into that. But if they get a handful over the years to fill those positions, again, that's a win for them. Win for us as taxpayers because we're only spending $5,000 instead of $350,000.
Yeah, huge difference right there.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us today. Really appreciate it.
No problem. This has been great. I'm happy to do this, and I always learn from coming to conversations like this. So anytime, let me know.
So listeners, you heard the man. If you are looking to get more experience in the STEAM field, go out, reach out to your local businesses, re-listen to this podcast, take notes, listen to everything. He's given us a lot of great information and advice today. So I want to send you guys out with a little piece of advice myself, which would be to check out our socials. Follow us on Instagram at FRC Team 195, all lowercase, and check out our Facebook, FRC Team 195, the Cyber Knights. And for more additional information on our robot or anything else 195 related, check out our website, team195.com. knightchat.com. I'm Chandra, your host, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Night Chat First on Air. See you next episode.